Greetings, book club. Mr. Clingan here. Now, today we're going to be starting a new bend, kind of like a new big chunk, a new big focus of our in our historical fiction unit, where we're really going to be focusing on the intersection. That means how they are connected, how they're interacting um, between our historical fiction texts and real events in history. Okay, so we're really going to be digging in deep to try and look at that connection. And the first thing we're going to focus on today is looking at what are called primary sources to better understand history. Now, a primary source is something that was actually created during the historical time period that we're talking about. So it could be a photograph that was taken or a video from a long time ago. It could be a letter that someone wrote, or maybe if they kept a diary or a journal that talked about what life was like. It could be a newspaper article that was written a long time ago. Okay, so those are primary sources. They were created at that time period. Okay, and specifically, we're going to look at photographs today because I want you to think about a time when maybe you've been reading a book, and this can happen especially in historical fiction. And all of a sudden, your mental movie, that image in your mind of the setting and what's happening, starts to get a little blurry. Maybe you can't imagine what the character is doing or what the character looks like anymore. Or maybe the background gets kind of blurry. You can't imagine the setting anymore, what it looks like, sounds like, feels like. Okay. Now, that happens a lot in historical fiction, books like Number of the Stars, because the setting is so different from what we're used to. It's in a time and a place that is very different from today. So one thing we can do is we can look at primary sources, specifically photographs, to help ourselves fill in some of those missing pieces in our mind and better understand the historical setting. Okay. Now, to illustrate that, I want to start with this photo that I found. Now, this photo helped me better understand some important parts of Number the Stars. Now, in Number the Stars, Anne Marie and her papa talk about how the King of Denmark, the leader of the country, would ride his horse alone without any bodyguards down the middle of the capital streets. Okay, Copenhagen is the capital of Denmark, and this king, the leader of the country, is riding his horse down there where there's no bodyguards, and there's enemy soldiers all around. Okay, and I just could not imagine this. This is so different from what I'm used to. Could you imagine an American president riding a horse down the streets of Washington, D.C. with no bodyguards around? Okay, I can't. That'd be crazy. So I found this picture online of King Christian, the King of Denmark, riding his horse Jubilee down the streets of Copenhagen in the 1940s during the middle of World War II. And I can really, by looking at the picture, I can see the people's faces and realize, he actually is safe. I don't see any menacing German soldiers around who are going to try to attack him. And it really does look like all the people of Denmark are looking out for him. They're like his bodyguard. Okay, they really look up to him. So this picture, this primary source, helped me better understand our fictional story better. Okay. Now I want you to practice a little bit with the next one. So here is another picture from Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, in the 1940s as Germany was invading. So I want you to look at this picture and see, how does this picture help you understand maybe another scene or part of this story? Okay. So study this picture for a moment. What do you notice? How does it help you understand the setting? Now, I'm not sure what you're noticing, but maybe you're noticing or thinking about the scene early on in the story when Anne Marie and Ellen were running down the sidewalk, racing, and all of a sudden they were stopped by a German soldier and they got pretty terrified. So this picture kind of helps me really imagine that. I imagine two little girls running down the sidewalk, and how they talked about how there were German soldiers like on every corner, everywhere. So I see German soldiers there, and how intimidating and scary that would be. And how something as simple as just running down the sidewalk could be a really terrifying experience. Okay. To see these soldiers with their weapons, this invading army in the middle of your neighborhood where you lived. Okay. So this picture really helped me understand that a little bit better. Okay. Now, your job today is going to be to try and do this with our book club book, Just Call Me Joe. Okay. So in our Seesaw assignment, after watching the video lesson, step 2 says you're going to search online for an image of New York City in 1900. That's around when our story takes place, that helps you better understand our historical setting. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how to save the image to your device. And today we're actually going to upload the image to Seesaw. I think this is going to work a little bit better in Seesaw than in Flipgrid. So there's no Flipgrid assignment for today. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to find an image from New York City around 1900 that's going to better help us understand the historical setting. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to search New York City 1900. Okay. If you click on images, you get to see the pictures. So you can look around and find anything you want to. I added some things, some search terms as well. Here are some other search terms you could add if you wanted to see what the immigration looked like, what the buildings looked like. Tenements, that's like an apartment building. You might have seen I had searched apartment as well. So I want you to try to find a picture that's going to help you understand the setting of Just Call Me Joe. Okay. Now, once you find a picture, the directions say you're going to save the image to your device. So let's say I remember reading that it sounded like there was a lot of people living in a small apartment. So I'm going to find a picture that helps me understand that. So I see, adults, kids, it looks like a pretty small apartment. So what I'm going to do to save this image is I'm going to do a right click. Now, if you don't have a mouse or you're just using a trackpad, you can also do a 2-finger tap on the image. So if you do 2 fingers and you tap on the trackpad at the same time, it'll open up this little window where you can save the picture. So you're going to do save image as. Now you can name it if you want to. I'll just say NYC, that's New York City apartment. Okay. And if you want to save it to anywhere specific, you can. I'm just going to keep it on this PC. That means my personal computer. I'm going to click save. Okay. Next, I'm going to go back to Seesaw. Okay. It says click add response, then click the camera and upload your image. So I'm going to click add response. Okay. I'll be the sample student. I know, remember, if you ever are forgetting what the instructions are, you can always click right here and it'll refresh your memory. So we're going to click the camera button and then upload our image. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to click camera, then upload. Okay. And you should be able to find your image saved. Here it says this PC. There's my New York City apartment. I'm going to click open. Okay. And now here's where you can adjust the size of your image, drag it and drop it where you want. Okay. All right. Then it says step 5. On the next page, use the microphone or the text to explain how the image helps you better understand the historical setting. So on this next page here, here's the question. How does the photo help you better understand the historical setting? So I'm going to use either the text tool and I can type, or I can click the microphone and I can record my voice. But I want you to explain how the photo that you uploaded helps you better understand the setting of Just Call Me Joe. Okay. When you're done, make sure that you click the green check. And then the last step is going to be to read chapter 5. Okay. So chapter 5 starts on page 27 and ends on 32. Okay. So that's your assignment for today. There is no conversation on Flipgrid for today. It's just going to be this Seesaw assignment and then reading the chapter in Epic. All right, I'm excited to see what pictures you find.